And welcome to CBS This Morning. We begin with breaking news on the withdrawal of all U.S. military forces from northern Syria. There is growing chaos in the region after President Trump's decision to pull back U.S. troops in the face of a Turkish military onslaught. For the first time in years, forces loyal to the Syrian regime are occupying key cities formerly held by U.S.-backed Kurdish forces. The spiraling violence has also allowed hundreds of ISIS supporters to escape captivity.
The U.S. had about 1,000 troops in northeastern Syria fighting ISIS alongside those Kurdish allies of the United States. Charlie D'Agata has been on the ground in Syria and just crossed into neighboring Iraq.
Well, aside from U.S. troops, we were among a handful of people who got the heads up that the withdrawal was about to be announced. It was like a 2-minute warning. We had to pack up and get moving because the situation on the ground was about to change dramatically and quickly. America's allies hear that Kurdish forces were taking a pummeling, Turkish troops advancing more quickly than anyone had expected. On the ground, Turkish-backed Syrian militias. They even filmed themselves executing Kurdish soldiers and civilians on the roadside. Dozens of civilians have been killed, more than 130,000 people displaced. This is what this place looked like until last week. This whole area under control of U.S.-backed Kurdish forces. The Turks and their militias drove all the way to a crucial highway, choking off supply and escape routes. Now, the Syrian regime is pushing forward, swallowing up the key cities of Kobani, Qamishli, and Al-Hasaka. We were in Hasaka when the news broke about the U.S. pullout. We not only had to avoid Syrian regime forces, Turkish artillery and airstrikes, their militias, but also ISIS cells exploiting the newly created power vacuum. The militants had already detonated car bombs in Qamishli and Hasaka, from where we were based to the direction we were heading. Hundreds of ISIS family members and supporters had escaped from a detention camp. Kurdish forces were struggling to contain 11,000 ISIS detainees, and dozens of high-value prisoners were never handed over to U.S. forces, despite President Trump's assurances. This relatively peaceful part of Syria has now descended into chaos and violence. Now, we just crossed over into Iraq from Syria because there are rumors that the Syrian regime was about to take over and close that checkpoint. Just gives you an idea of how quickly the situation on the ground has changed and how hostile that environment was that prompted the withdrawal of U.S. forces.
Charlie D'Agata reporting there. Thanks, Charlie.